Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Teachers That Sparkle, the place where you can find all things that will help you sparkle in your classroom each and every day. I have been enjoying this journey with you, as I mention each week, and I hope that every single week you find a little power in what I talk about. I know in my partnership with my daughter, we continually talk about things that we're seeing others post on social media, conversations that we have with teachers almost daily, between the two of us for sure daily, but I connect with as many people still as I did before, in a different kind of manner, of course, when it comes to the teaching profession. And the struggles are real. They really are. And I'm hoping that for those of you who know that this is your calling, for those of you who know that even when it's hard, you want to persevere and have an impact on children and how they progress through life, how they meet all of their goals and dreams, so that one day they can do whatever it is they want to do. This week, we are wrapping up those top 10 items that Kimberly and I brainstormed together in the summer to get you ready to have the very best classroom that you possibly can have. We know that teaching is all about pedagogy. We know that teaching is all about theories and textbook kinds of things, but we also know that teaching is just as much a part of relationship building, emotional supports for kids, providing environments that help children thrive, that help you as the teacher thrive in all that you do. That's the important stuff to me. I can teach you to teach. I can't teach you to care. I can't always teach you to persevere, but we can give you little tips along the way as reminders to help you remember you're stronger than what you think you are. You're much more capable, for sure. And you chose this path because it was a calling for you, because you wanted to set out to make a difference in the world. I commend you for that. And I want to encourage you to keep going, even on the hard days. Because if you saw my social media posting on that I put on Facebook and Instagram today, and I'm recording on October 16th, you'll be reminded that when people think about their education, they think about school, when they went to school, when they were a child. They don't remember all of the things that they learned about, but they do remember the people. They remember the teachers. They remember the good ones and, unfortunately, the not so good ones. And we want you to be remembered as one of the great ones, one of those that had an impact on those children who are now adults, thinking back on their education. All right, let's get started with this week's message, because again, this is the final top 10 tip that we have to create the best classroom you possibly can. And today's tip, like the others, is going to be a little challenging, but definitely doable. And it is going to cause you to have to do some mindset shifting. You're going to have to think a little different on this one. Now, I've been pushing you each week to get out of your own thoughts, to step away from all the stuff happening out in the world, out in the classroom, and really think about, again, your why you started this. But today, I want to remind us all, and this is one of the most important pieces I can give you. No matter what the situation, the incident, the person, no matter what, you cannot take it personal. Now, I'm going to tell you, I had a really hard time with this at first. I had two situations that happened my first year of teaching that taught me so much moving forward. And honestly, I think these were my two defining moments that kept me in the profession for 28 years, that kept me wanting to do the good work. The first situation was very challenging. It had to do with a student, some allegations of possible abuse in the home. CPS was involved, which is Child Protective Services. That's what we call it here in Texas. And it brought up a lot of previous memories for me, which immediately made me create a personal connection, which was not a bad thing. Because of the personal connection, I could think ahead on a few things. I could think through a few things, knew how they would probably play out to help determine how situations were going to be handled that I was involved in that year. But what it also did is it made me take things too personal. Because of the situations that I had, I was believing one side of the story over the other. And the lesson that I had to learn is that it's not our job to judge. It's not our job to investigate. It's our job to report. It's not our job to form an opinion about what is happening, because to be honest, and I say this with a little bit of embarrassment, the judgment that I formulated was not accurate. And it caused more detriment to the situation in whole than what needed to happen. Now, of course, because of the nature of the situation, and again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I wasn't in any kind of trouble. But I learned very quickly that because of my personal connection, it was even more important for me to learn how to remove myself from situations. It was hard. I had to think different, because my why was to go in and have an impact on children. My why for teaching was to do the great work with students that teachers did for me, that saved me. But I had to set boundaries. And I had to remember, it's not about Sherry Dixon. Take the personal out. That lesson I learned was at the end of the first semester. And I'm going to be honest, it was part of the reason why I thought, this is not the profession for me, and I'm going to leave. Because if you've heard me speak before, you've heard me say, my first year was so tough, I was planning on quitting mid-year. I was driving back to Iowa with my ex-husband and my daughter, and I said, I'm not going back. I'm done. I'll open a daycare and a preschool back home, and that'll be our life. It'll be fine. Because it was hard to remove the personal on top of everything else, right? That's hard. But as you also know, I went back. I came back end of January. I had another situation that happened. This one I had a little more control over. However, this one made me realize that people will say and do things to protect themselves, and that it's not necessarily about me. Again, I had to learn how to remove the personal. Those were my defining moments. I share those today because you need to know, I get it. I understand. Sure, year 28 was fantastic. I left on a great note, made a huge difference in the world of education. And now the work that I'm doing, I love it. But it wasn't always like that. Especially if you're in your first few years or your first year, or having a challenging year, because everything about education right now seems to be challenging, right? I want you to remember that there are some things that you can do that can make it a little bit better. And taking the personal out of things is one of those things. So let's talk about how we can do that. The first thing that I think we have to remember is that, yes, we always, or most of the time, I don't want to say always, I should never say always, 99% of the time, people that go into education go into it because it's calling. You heard me say that a few minutes ago. I was one of those people. When you have that much passion for something, when you know that you're on a mission, and typically it's personal mission, it's hard to separate your personal feelings from reality. But I think one of the things that we can do as a teacher that will be very, very helpful is before we react to anything, we stop and we breathe. I remember saying to a staff member one time, she was in my office and she was telling me about some things another staff member had done to her. And I'm going to be honest, they upset me. They really did, because I couldn't believe that my staff would treat each other like this. And for a minute, I thought, oh, I'm going to spark off an email and I'm going to send this out and I'm going to take care of this. And then I went back to just that piece of advice. I stopped myself. I took a breath and I said to the person sitting across from me, you're right. That should not have happened. And to be honest, it doesn't make me happy. And I'm going to take care of it. However, I'm going to allow myself to calm down first, because right now I may take things personal, just like you're taking things personal. And in order to have a conversation that we might be able to resolve the situation, removing our personal feelings is going to be very, very, very important to the outcome. She stopped for a minute. And I thought she was going to say, oh, no, you need to take care of this today. This is a bad situation. But instead she said, you know what? I understand. And hearing that from you makes sense. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trust that you will resolve this. But I'm going to step back for a minute until I'm not personally hurt or taking it too personal, so I can have a conversation. I was very proud of her. And the good news is it made all the difference in that situation. So taking a moment and realizing, ooh, I am taking this personal. I need to stop, because this could happen with a student. It could happen with a parent. It could happen with a colleague, right? It could happen with so many things, especially if we're ultra sensitive. If it's something where we've had a personal situation in our past, it makes it a little more heightened for us. And we're human. We're all human. So it's understandable. You won't be able to control everything that's coming at you, but you can control how you respond to it. And the best way to do that is to give yourself a moment. Just breathe. And before you respond, make sure that your emotion has calmed, that you don't feel heightened in any kind of way. Because I promise you, it's going to still be there when you calm down. I promise. But you'll be able to resolve it a whole lot faster. So that's tip number 1 for you today. Number 2, I think reflection is always something that is so important. If you know a lot about me and the other type of work I do, I support women building their self-confidence, their self-esteem, empowering them to feel like they matter, to feel like they can do the big things in life that they always wanted to do. And part of that, I have developed a reflection journal. I love this journal. It's amazing. It really is. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on my websites. However, reflection is very important because I know the power of it. It has worked for me. Now, I've been trained by a whole lot of people over the years, school people, non-school people, leaders, people who maybe I just made a connection with. They're just a colleague, a friend. I learn from everybody I possibly can. And reflection is something that the most successful people do often. And I started to incorporate it into my world as a teacher, into my 2nd year of teaching. Once I realized how powerful it was. Now, I did it for a lot of things. I reflected on the lesson I did that day. I reflected on how I ran a grid level meeting, or how I did something, or into my leadership era, how I handled situations. But most importantly, I think the biggest reflection that you can do is to be able to step back at the end of the day and say, okay, what went not so well today? And what went really well today? And then I take it one step further and I say to myself, and how did I contribute to both of those situations? And then, of course, what did I learn from the situation that didn't go so well? But that piece about what did I contribute? I used to do this with my daughter when she was growing up. I didn't put that piece in. And I found that as she got into her young adulthood, when she was going through some challenging times, I've kind of regretted that. I wish I would have taught her to be able to step back and say, ooh, maybe I did this. It's not about fault finding, and it's not necessarily about beating yourself up, but it is about, did I take something too personal? Should I have removed myself? Could I have handled this in a different manner? So reflection is a powerful tool. I highly suggest that you come to some kind of routine when it comes to reflecting on your day, your week, your month, however it is you do it. And you can start small and you can always add. But take that time. Think about those most challenging situations that you encounter. How did you handle it? How did you contribute to the situation? What did you learn from it? By doing that, you'll start to see patterns arise. You'll start to see things come up where you go, oh gosh, maybe I was too sensitive. Or maybe I took that too personal. And that caused me to respond in this way. It's a learned skill to reflect. It really is. If you ever need help, of course, please reach out. However, I would really like to hear if you decide to start to incorporate this into your life, your professional life for sure, plus your personal, because it's always important there as well. The power that it will give you to become more self-aware of who you are, what you stand for, what you tolerate, where your boundaries are, and what you don't tolerate is powerful in and of itself. But it also could really help you on this path of removing your personal feelings when situations happen. Because again, we're human, it's going to happen. And things are going to happen that are out of our control. So the more we can do to control our responses, the better we're going to be. And finally, and this one is a big one right here, find yourself an accountability partner. Find somebody that you can have a candid conversation with, that you can vent to, that you can scream and yell and tell somebody, this was not fair to me. This happened to me. And they're not going to judge you, but they're also going to allow you to have that moment and start to help you move on to the path of, all right, I'm taking this personal. I'm realizing it now. I got my frustration out. How am I going to move forward before moving into the next steps? Accountability partners are powerful. I have one right now. I'm in a group coaching program, I guess you would call it. I meet once a week with this group and we're working on doing big things in the world, right? And our leader is pushing us hard. And there are weeks that I feel overwhelmed. I feel like, no, I don't know if I can do this. I've had this accountability partner now for about 2 of the 6 weeks we've been in the program. And the last 2 weeks for me personally have been so much better. I feel more empowered. I feel more invigorated to be able to take the next steps because I'm able to just get it out, breathe, and then have somebody that's not going to let me just wallow in that, that's going to push me to move forward. So again, we never want to keep these super long each week. I want to give you some quick nuggets, but this was our final top 10 item on our list of things that you can do to make your classroom the very, very best. And of course, we'll have more episodes coming with other types of things that you can work on as a teacher. But let's remember this one, because this one is powerful. When something happens, it's very, very important to remove your personal feelings and not to take it personal. It's not an easy task to do, and it's going to take practice. But 3 things that you can do to really help yourself get on that path of removing that personal feeling is that you can stop and breathe before you react. Take time to reflect. End of day, end of week, end of month, however you want to get started. And find yourself that good networking accountability partner that understands what you're going through, that will allow you, and you're in a safe space to be able to just vent it out, but then will help you to move forward. All right, so this has been an awesome episode. Once again, I know you're going to get a little bit out of this. However, if you feel like you need a little bit more, I do have some additional ways that you can definitely come on board and work with me. We're getting ready for some Black Friday deals, which I think are going to be pretty exciting, especially coming into that most challenging time of the year, the holidays. However, until we get there, I do want to remind you, I do life coaching for teachers. I do tailor the package to exactly what you need. The amount of time after speaking with you is dependent upon what you have going on in your teaching world, in your life. I offer it at a discounted price as compared to my regular coaching sessions, because we all know as teachers, I'd love to say that we're the highest paid profession in the world, but we're not. But that should not be a reason for you not to get started. So I have some ways to work with each of you on that. And my current clients, they're experiencing some great results. If you're a new teacher, or maybe in your second year and you're still having some struggles with some of those organizational patterns, maybe some of those things, how do I get all of this done in a day and still get some sleep at night? And definitely want to be called back for a contract in the upcoming year. We have the program From Rookie to Rockstar, which is amazing. We are into, I believe we're in month 4. October is month 4 right now. And we've been covering a lot of really great things. Anything from building relationships with students, with parents, meeting and greeting them for the first time, what's important to share because parents don't like surprises, grading practices and why we grade, what does that mean for students. We've talked about classroom management and how to set up a room that's efficient and still keep kids engaged and on task. It's been some great information in there. And the great news is the program is very affordable. So reach out to me. You can reach me on Facebook or Instagram at Teachers That Sparkle. I am available. Kimberly is available. Of course, we would love to start with a call together. That way we can make sure we're a good fit. But I can guarantee you're going to see some great things happen in your world of teaching if you are struggling right now and just need that little extra boost. All right, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your week. It's Monday. Mondays are great days to set your intention for the week so that you can follow through on all of your goals and wrap things up on Friday and feel good about going into the weekend without worrying, how much did I leave behind this week? So take advantage of a fantastic Monday. And I'll see you right back here next week on Teachers That Sparkle.